Now let's understand what are view and pure function. Just clean everything up, and now the view and pure function are essentially can be, so now functions, just for now the functions can be categorized into three category or three types. Say add a comment right over here. Three types of say functions keyword, right? Functions keyword we can say in Solidity, right? And the first one which we have right now is essentially gonna be the first type has no keyword. The first type has no keyword. The second one, as we know, is gonna be a view function. The third one is essentially a pure function, right? Now when I say no keyword, right, so if you look at any of the file, let's say if you go to this memory and story.sol, you will see right over here we don't specify any view type, right? So now view, it's there is nothing, and not at view and not anything else right over here. So that is an example of your no keyword function, right? So now the view function consists of this keyword known as view, and the pure function consists of this keyword known as pure. Now let's do some sort of example right over here. Let's say, now first thing to understand what are side effects. Now side effects are let's take an example of, let's say make a event of name right over here, and now let's make a function of update, and this update function is again going to be a public because we want to do that. Now let's say make a event right here. So now we don't make event, let's say make it a string, because yeah, so just make a event of, let's say x is equals to, let's say 10. Now now what we are going to be doing is we are updating this x value to, let's say 10, let's say 90, right? So this is not a side effect, but if we are updating the name value to, let's say we are updating this to your name, now this is a side effect, right? So we can also, let's say for the simplicity, add a event right over here and name this as age, and let's say add a age, and let's say make like 89, right? Now this is an example of a side effect, and this is not a side effect because we are just updating it inside a function, right? Now we are updating, now we are using, now we essentially what we are doing, we are already declared a state right at the top, and this now we are updating it inside a function. This is an example of a side effect. Now let's move ahead and talk about some other view functions, right? Let's say, so just take an example of view function right over here, right? So what is the main use case of view function, right? So the view function, we can understand that view function helps reads the state but does not write the state, right? So the view function essentially reads the state but does not write the state. Let's take an example right now. Let's say, and yeah, every time you read the state it would be free, but once you want to update the state you need to pay a gas, right? Because you need to perform some sort of action, so that's why you need to pay a gas to perform that action. Yeah, so that's why reading a state is free. So I will let you know what about the gas and all kind of stuff later on. Let's say, okay, let's say make a function again, function of update, let's say not update, get age, right? And we are going to be making this function. So we need to read the state. So let's say return age, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be just returning the age. So this is an example of a view function. So first thing first, we need to specify public view, because this is now we are reading the state, right? So now we need to specify view keyword right over here. Then we need to add a returns, because we are returning value. So let's say add a event, because it's a event, that's why we are using it right over here. Cool. So this is an example of a view function. So just in case if I delete this view and compile this, so what is happening? So now I need to add semicolon over here and then compile it. Now it's throw me in a warning. The warning states that function states mutability can be restricted to view, right? So it's just a warning. So this means that this means essentially, if we not specify state, is it's giving us a warning that for the code optimization, Solidity always gives you some sort of warning if you don't read view over here, right? So if I just add view right over here and then compile it, and then, or maybe like compile that contract, it's compiled successfully. Cool. So that's how you can essentially use view. So let's say, then what's the use of pure? So as the name suggests, pure, the pure means which is pure, right? So as the name suggests, view also, view means if you want to view something but we need to update, but we do not need to update that thing, that's an example of view. So let's try to link these words with your imagination power. Let's say we can use that. So yeah, so let's move ahead and let's take an example of pure function. Pure function. So the pure function essentially does not read or write the state. So these are pretty different as compared to the view function, right? They neither read or neither write the state, right? So let's take an example right over here. Let's say make a function of multiply numbers, right? So let's say we have a uint of number 1, and then we have a uint, okay, sort of problem, uint of number 2, and now let's make it a public and return, it will return us a uint, right? And let's say return a times p, right? So what this means, instead of adding this p right away, you can add number 1 and number 2. So what it does is it essentially now we already specify the name arguments right over here, and now we're not getting the state, right? So now we need to tell a compiler that neither we are now reading the state, neither we are now writing the state, so we need to add a pure keyword right over here, right? So that's the example of how you can write pure functions. Now if you compile the functions, it's compiled successfully. Now if I again deploy this and expand this tab, and you will see this is an update function. If you look at the update function, it essentially update the thing right over here, update. So it doesn't show anything because we aren't doing anything right over here. So let's say if I get, so let's say add 2 numbers. Let's say we are adding 23 plus 23, call it, just essentially multiply that number, right? So that's how you can use this kind of pure function in Solidity. If you look on this get number, it just get the age. Age we set up right over here. This on this age, it shows us 89. Cool. So yeah, that is essentially everything. So update function doesn't work. That's all about pure and view function in Solidity. I will show you in the next video.